cool. We're in on Cloud Kingdom, Lillian. Who have we got?
We've got in the bottom left spawning position, playing a ton of Heart of the Swarm beta recently, playing for Team Millennium. Currently, I'm actually not sure. Is he playing from Korea or playing from the team house in France? I think he's in France, but I'm not absolutely sure. It is ForGG. And in the top right spawn position, we've got the red Terran player playing for Team Epexo, the European division. It is Strelok. Look at that camera action. It's like the GSL.
It is indeed, man. I literally just typed overlay to Nick because I have the stream open as well, and I thought he forgot it. And just as I hit enter on my keyboard, we are perfectly fine in game. Herp, derp. But things are looking pretty good here. Now, ForGG, of course, a very, very well-known Korean player, formerly on OGS. And things are incredibly, incredibly good going for him at the moment. He has waltzed his way through this tournament so far, but Strelok doing a very good job himself to get to this point. Which one of them is going to come out on top? I'm not sure. It's not quite as clear-cut as England versus the Netherlands.
Oh, wow. We've got some historical banter happening here. Maybe some
It's funny because
soccer.
I'm not English, but
No,
I'm
it's
rolling
funny.
with it.
You're from Hong Kong, or?
I'm from Hong Kong, but I'm Australian. And I live in London, so
Yeah.
you work that one out.
So basically, he's from all over the world.
I'm from world, man. I'm a
from-
true Terran player. I am a man of the world.
Yeah, so when you register for a website or some kind of thing you need to register for, you're like, country, and you're like, the world. Why doesn't it list the world? I'm from
I always put other.
Other.
Works wonders.
Yeah, I'm sure
No
you
problem.
do. Let's take a look at the build orders that our two Terran players have got for us today here on Cloud Kingdom. The beautiful pink Cloud Kingdom. Looks like ForGG has decided to open with a gas, and he's going to be putting 3 workers in there immediately, and so has Strelok. So we both have gas openers. It's just that Strelok grabbed his gas a little bit earlier, so he's already up to 100 gas, and he's going to be dropping that factory a little bit earlier.
Yep, that's right. A little bit of earlier gas means that you have slightest bit more flexibility in what sort of builds you're going for. Don't forget, of course, you can use that gas for potentially early Reapers. You can go for the fast factory, which we see Strelok doing at the moment. Or we could just try and get some add-ons very quickly. And in this particular case, it looks like we're going to go for either... Well, we're going to go for an early reacted factory. Whether it's for Widow Mines or Hellions remains to be seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios that can be going down for Strelok right now. He has also grabbed his second gas, so we could be seeing Hellbat drops, we could be seeing Cloak Banshees. There's a lot of different tech options available to Strelok right now, whereas ForGG is going to be limited to, well, the one Reaper, the tech lab, and the command center that he's making. And with this tech lab that he's constructing right now, he's making himself very vulnerable to Banshee play, because he's not going to have any Marines out on the field for an extended period of time, and his anti-air is going to be very lackluster for a little period in this game.
It is indeed, and it looks like Strelok does have a Valentine's gift in plan for ForGG here. We've got the starport almost complete, 2 Hellions on the way, followed by 2 Widow Mines as well. So we should be seeing an interesting combination dropping. Now, don't forget, 2 Hellions plus 2 Widow Mines will fit into a medevac, but only 2 Hellbats as of this patch, so this could be a good way to go for him here.
What is he really going to do? It is going to be the medevac, of course. There were no indications of a tech lab going down. What do we have going down? That's a tech lab on that barracks. Don't think they're going to be switching around to the starport, though. So we're going to see a 2 Hellion to Widow Mine drop, I guess. That's going to be cool. Let's see how that works out. First time ever I'm going to be seeing that. What about you? Have you ever seen a Hellion Widow Mine drop?
I have before, but I've never seen it work very effectively. Usually Terrans can react fast enough that the Widow Mines don't actually get that much splash damage done, which I think is quite important. The element of surprise, and hopefully your opponent looking away from their base, tends to make this kind of drop a lot more effective. If you were attacking into the natural at the same time as the drop was going down, for instance, there's a higher chance that this drop would succeed. But as it currently stands, if ForGG has nothing else to focus on, well, if you just hit M really quickly and take a look at the average APM tab, you tell me if you think ForGG will be able to handle this.
ForGG should be good with an average APM of 377.
Is that it? And look at that. The SCV's moving away as the first Widow Mine drops. So, ForGG very much on top of it. You have Heli. Oh, we've got Marauders and Marines chasing the medevac away here. Strelok trying his best to find a way in sideways, but the army is just following him.
The Widow Mines are going down, just Burrows in the nick of time. It does manage to kill an SCV there and damage a second Marine. Are we going to see a scan here? It's going to be a while before that Widow Mine has enough time to recharge. Of course, mining at the natural is going to be denied by this other Widow Mine. And there is a scan available, gets used immediately. And a second scan is available now, so we should see the second Widow Mine get cleaned up in just a matter of seconds.
Now, I like what Strelok did here. He saw that ForGG, oh, very nice, using one Marine to bait the Widow Mine, and Strelok actually picking it up and getting away with it as well. That was great. I love what Strelok did there. He saw that ForGG was completely and utterly on top of that attack, and therefore put the two Widow Mines at very different locations, forcing ForGG to use a scan. And obviously a scan potentially over 200 minerals. So he's traded one Widow Mine rather, for a scan, and he's going to be following this up with a Banshee.
Yeah, the Banshee now coming in. It has Cloak, but there is a scan available on the main orbital. The second orbital does not have a scan, so we should see that scan go down. Ooh, that's a bit of a missed scan. Not going to be able to kill that Banshee there. And it's going to give the Banshee possibly some more time, but at the same time, the second base is under attack by Strelok. Strelok is trying to defend this. ForGG doing some excellent damage. His Marauders, with Stim already finished up, are doing a lot of damage. The Banshee, though, the Cloak Banshee, is what is keeping Strelok in this game.
Oh, very nice. They're picking off all the Marines first from Strelok, but ForGG in the meantime is actually killing a decent amount with his Marauders. They will all die to this Banshee, of course, because they cannot shoot up. But in the meantime, mining at the natural has been completely and utterly denied. The Widow Mine, though, is still actually in the natural of ForGG and takes out the SCV building the missile turret as well. So both sides not mining from their natural, really, at the moment.
No, a lot of damage being done on both sides. Let's take a look at the worker kill tab. 11 workers killed for Strelok versus 7 of ForGG, which makes the unit tab actually look really equal right now. 31 workers for Strelok and 29 for ForGG. 444
Exactly, man. Yeah, so things... oh, there we go. It looks like the missile turret did, in fact, go up, so the Widow Mine behind at the natural is going to go down. Supplies currently 53 to 62 in Strelok's favor, who also has a 6-worker lead. So off the back of that, Strelok is doing all right. And as we can see, he's getting more Hellions here. We have some siege tanks. It looks like he might be going into a mech build. Only 2 factories at the moment, though.
Yeah, only 2 factories, a little bit low. Usually we see that third one added on relatively quickly. But he's also producing out of his starport, so that's sort of making up for things. There's the third factory going down. Vikings on the way, but it looks like ForGG is not done with his aggression yet. The siege tank is going to are 7 Hellions to help defend here, and a siege tank at 7 Hellions, 2 siege tanks, 7 Hellions, and some Banshees should be easily able to defend this.
Picking off 2 supply depots, then immediately retreating. I think ForGG knows that he cannot really attack into a siege tank line right now. He's got Hellbat in front of it as well, does Strelok, so he will be able to tank a considerable amount of that damage, allowing the siege tanks in the back to finish the army off.
So he's going to go ahead and retreat back to his natural, take a bit more of a defensive stance, and he's going to tech up, finally getting that starport. Super ridiculously late starport, 12 minutes into the game, and the starport isn't even done yet. So ForGG is not going to have any medevacs out on the field for quite some time yet. His upgrades are quite lackluster too. He's just now... Actually, does he already have +1 attack? Yeah, he does have +1 attack. So all is good in ForGG land. He's going to be researching 1-1. And Strelok is researching +1 vehicle weapons right now. And ForGG actually a little bit ahead in the upgrades war right now.
Yeah, he's doing all right at the moment. He's going to be continuing his upgrades. He's currently at 1-0, and he's got that +1 armor on the way. No upgrades have kicked in yet for the mech army, but don't forget, the mech army is fundamentally stronger, and Strelok does actually have a supply lead right now of about 15. He's not going to... Well, he could use this to just go for some sort of huge push, but with mech, ideally, you want to wait until you're about 140 plus supply. You can go a little bit lower in Heart of the Swarm, or... he can use this to defend his current position and just get his 3rd command center down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing, Jorosar. Nice call there. Getting the 3rd base, definitely a good move if you ask me. It's going to be a little bit tough to defend that early 3rd from the bio-aggression, the mobility of the bio-army with the medevacs and the afterburners. They could harass a lot of locations at the same time. So I like the decision out of Strelok, building this command center in his main base and then flying it out when he has enough supply to actually defend it. Great moves here, as we see both players in the middle of the map right now with their entire army, especially Strelok, man. He's got a big army heading towards the third base, but there is no third base yet.
He does indeed. ForGG actually moving back at the moment. A bit of a moment of indecision because he hasn't seen the third base down with that one Marine. So Strelok, of course, is building it on the high ground, and he sees no third base for ForGG. So he instead is going to try and move into the natural expansion. The armies are going to hit each other, though, and Strelok's army is way bigger at this point. ForGG needs to move back into the natural. His army is split in two. The bio army desperately trying to come back, and Strelok has managed to get himself a pretty decent position. I want to see him closer to the natural ramp, though. I'm surprised he sieged up there.
Yeah, not the best sieging position. Maybe he was hoping to get the command center before it finished, but the command center finished up. This needs to get repaired by ForGG, though. He cannot afford to lose this command center. There come the SCVs. Picks off a medevac at the same time. Strelok doing some considerable and some really good damage to the Millennium player right now. The Millennium player definitely on the back foot, not in any position to expand to a third base yet.
And Strelok has two cloaked Banshees that are just using energy. I really want to see him pick off those two siege tanks on the high ground. The Vikings have seen them. They know they're there. And another two medevacs popping out to try and get a bit of scouting vision, but all they really get for their trouble is down to half health or lower. Needs to be very, very careful. Then Strelok needs to make use of his Banshees to try and pick off some tanks.
Yeah, he does. They're just sitting there losing energy. There's no reason for them to really not try. I mean, they can go in, and with good micro, they can kill a few Marines. They can soften up some of the siege tanks. That Marauder, I don't know what he was doing. Probably scouting. Not really much done there. Strelok has to be careful at this point. He has a big army back at home, and ForGG's been making units, and he's trying to kind of pincer the army of Strelok in between at the third base location.
Oh, very nice. Now we're using the Banshees. Good pickup there. Those medevacs completely on standby just for those tanks. The pilot saw him, and we said, no, there are two tanks there. They're not going to get taken out by those Banshees. We're coming to get you, Barbara. And that is the end of that. So really well done, saving both off the siege tank there, ForGG, and now he's moving in on both sides with the bio army. A great pincer movement here, and even the Hellbats from Strelok are not able to hold. He has to get out.
Yeah, he has to run with his tail between his legs, definitely overstaying his welcome there, but he didn't really have an avenue to retreat because that circumventing move that ForGG was making across the map with his secondary force would have caught the entire mech army retreating. So I think Strelok would have lost his army either way, and I think he's fine. He's got his third base already up and running, whereas ForGG has just landed his orbital a second ago. The game looking quite even. 55 workers to 54 workers, even army supplies. The upgrades are relatively close to each other too. So I think we're in for a longer game.
Yeah, Strelok has he's basically got himself into a position where he had a nice sieged up position, but he needed to do more with that position before ForGG got into place. And because he was able to get a pincer movement, it just wasn't very good. Hellbats, though, tanking a lot of damage now as he's going for a 1A up the ramp towards the third base. Only a single siege tank left for ForGG. He might be able to break here. A lot of tanks left for Strelok, but a decent number of Marauders in this army isn't going to be enough. It doesn't look like it. The Vikings providing air cover, and Strelok has now sieged up the third base. He needs to move some tanks forward quickly, otherwise this small force behind is just going to clean him up.
Yeah, it's not looking good for ForGG. Oh, there comes the flank from ForGG. That was exactly what he needed. Strelok's Vikings are here, but they can do absolutely nothing because there's no real flying army. There's just 3 medevacs and a lot of his supply now caught in those Vikings that were supposed to give him vision. But those tanks were just so naked, and getting flanked from the top side by ForGG was a really good move. And all of a sudden, the Korean is in a supply lead, completely turning things around, and could potentially be counterattacking into Strelok's base right now.
Yeah, Strelok had a fantastic lead in this game, but he's blundered it twice now for exactly the same reason. He got into good positions with his mech army and then was guilty of doing stuff too slowly. He didn't leapfrog his tanks forward. We saw in the first engagement, it took him forever to get his Banshees involved, and that just gave ForGG the time he needed to flank, and that's why he's enjoying so much map control right now.
Yeah, ForGG playing that beautifully, using the mobility of his bio army, once again using it, attacking into the natural and getting ready to attack the third base at the same time, hoping to draw the army out of position, which is exactly what's happening. The Wintermines doing some good damage though, and he's actually demolishing the army of ForGG, but here comes the second portion of the army, forcing the cancel on the fourth base, but not quite being able to push into the third because of good siege tank positioning there by Strelok. For who was that the better engagement, do you think?
I think slightly for ForGG, just because he managed to pick off some SCVs. If we take a look at the work account right now, it's actually 64 to 53 in ForGG's favor. And while Strelok in the early game enjoyed constantly a 10 to 20 supply lead over ForGG, ForGG now finds himself slightly ahead in supply. And with that stronger economy behind him as well, and the bigger maneuverability of his army, I think the game's momentum has really swung in his favor now.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to shift more and more towards ForGG's favor. Strelok is regaining his supply lead that he's had almost throughout almost the entire game, because those Hellbats, of course, taking up a lot of supply and very easy to produce. The siege tanks are getting in position too. They do have siege mode, of course, researched a long time ago. There's only one siege tank for ForGG because he's attacking at the third base again.
That's right, he managed to pick up the tank as well, so even though Strelok has a really nice attack potentially going towards the third base, look at this, once again, all his tanks are sieged up somewhere so far away from the third orbital of ForGG, he can't actually get any purchase on it. He's starting his attacks too far back, and he's moving forward too slowly, and that's allowed ForGG to take apart the third base effectively for free. If Strelok attacked at the same time, there would only be one army to defend, but now ForGG is trying to get back to hit with two.
Oh, the siege tanks are now all in siege mode, and that's a lot of firepower. There's about 10 siege tanks, 9 actually in that position, and that's a lot of damage. It's definitely not over yet.
ForGG is moving the second army to flank from the back, and this is why Strelok is taking too long with these attacks, and ForGG is able to get multiple angles because of it, and it looks like he's about to go in.
Yeah, he is going in from the back, from the front, and this should once again be a demolished army for Strelok. The Hellbats are standing their own, but the Marauders are going to come out victorious. There's still 3 siege tanks left standing, which surprises me a little bit. Is ForGG going to be able to clean this up? He should be able to, and especially with that superior economy, because he now even has a 4th base J-Shark, 4 bases versus a barely 2 base Strelok. It's not looking good for our Red Terraneer, and he cannot retreat. His siege tanks are stuck there.
Strelok's armies this game would be fantastic against a single army, but because he keeps getting flanked by 2 sides at once because he gives ForGG the time he needs, he hasn't been able to get his dream army in position. And here we go, another potential big engagement. Strelok with a lot more attacks. ForGG should technically lose this battle here, but he's microing his siege tanks so well, focusing that splash damage on the incoming tanks. He will lose it, but kills off a couple more, and Strelok is down to 111 supply as ForGG gets his 4th up.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the FXO player right now. He's retreating towards his 4th base, maybe hoping to take a bit of a defensive posture right now, as he feels that he might have done some damage. We do see 4 Hellions now out on the map. They might be able to kill every single SCV at the 4th base of ForGG, because that 4th base is very sneaky and very naked.
Oh dear, ladies and gentlemen. That is a massive barbecue if I've ever seen one. Roses are red, violets are blue. Hellion's still good, worker line dead.
Jurosar is on a roll with his poetry tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Rhyming is something that he doesn't quite has mastered yet.
It's not necessary when you have fire.
No reason to rhyme when you have Hellions. That's what Jurosar is throwing your way. As ForGG's once again moving out across the map, he has a supply lead of about 20 because of that superior economy. He's had that 4th base for quite a while, and even though he lost a lot of workers, he is still ahead in the worker count. He still has the superior economy.
Really nice attack there from Strelok, but is it going to be enough to deter ForGG? Fire army coming in, but look at the number of tags here for Strelok. He's only sieging up a couple of them at the moment, leaving quite a lot of them in Pung Pung mode to get maximum DPS out against those Marauders, which might actually be a good decision if he needs to siege a couple more up further forward, and once he does that, he can land his orbital again, so no real damage done there. Current worker count 63 to 51, still in favor of ForGG.
Yeah, the economy for the Korean player is still soaring and looking good. I want to question this. Oh, I almost missed that. Good thing you pointed out, and Observer called it too. That base is going to get denied, might even be killed here, but there's not that many Marines in the army. Is he going to get it? Yes, he will be able to get that orbital command, and will probably go down. There it is, blasting out into pieces, as we see the Hellbats trying to go in to harass that 4th base again, but there is a siege tank. But guess what? Hellbat's pretty good for his tanks.
They are indeed, and really showing their stuff there as Strelok continuing to try and harass ForGG. But again, the problem is, when ForGG harasses Strelok, bases die. When Strelok harasses ForGG, ForGG sends army back. We haven't seen a single command center go down for ForGG at this game, I think, and that's really been the difference. A big engagement over here on the left-hand side of the map. ForGG cannot take this army on his own. This is a very serious-looking army, but where will Strelok siege up? He needs to siege up within shooting range of that orbital command.
And we see ForGG attacking into the natural Strelok right now. There's only a single siege tank here to defend. This might cripple the production of Strelok. He might even kill the natural, and yes, he will. The entire army of ForGG is here. Only a very small portion to defend at his 4th base. The siege tanks are going down left and right. We might be going into a bit of a base trade situation, Jorasar. This could get tense, but of course, ForGG is going to have the way better position.
He really is. I think ForGG now capping out the production structures of Strelok. Strelok has taken out the 4th base, but ForGG is perfectly happy to continue producing. Another 2 Hellbats at the 3rd base of ForGG, picking apart a couple of workers, but the workers killed 42 to 49 this game, so in that regard, quite even. But look at the infrastructure. The factories are basically all gone. They're even lifting up inside the main base. ForGG can still continuing to produce a massive bio army. Strelok can no longer produce additional mech, and ForGG takes a 30 supply lead.
Yeah, the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for Strelok. I don't really know why he decided to go back. His slow immobile mech army wouldn't have been able to get back in time. All his production would have been gone anyway. He might have been better off trying his luck in a very weird base trade, which would have been a really bad situation too, because who wants to base trade with mech versus bio? You never want to do that. Bio is so much more mobile in those base trade situations, Jorasar. I think our red Terran player could be going down here.
I think so. I mean, he has a really fearsome army. Don't get us wrong, guys. He has 72 supply of pure liquid death, does FXO Strelok. However, once that army is gone, there is no replenishing it for him right now. He's at 100 over 70 supply. Not a great position to be in supply block-wise. And his worker supply is down to 28. ForGG has taken his 4th base. Going to retake his 5th as well. And he just has a much bigger army. Very, very mobile. And he's up to 3-2 upgrades. So he's matching it here.
Yeah, the upgrades are...
Oh, losing both medevacs early on in the engagement. That's not what he wanted. And ForGG actually pushing into this because he knows as long as he is able to trade against these siege tanks, even ineffectively, there's not too much else Strelok can do to reproduce. So he's going to sacrifice army after army against this until there are no siege tanks left. And then he'll be able to macro up for 5 minutes because Strelok won't have anything.
Oh, a few siege tanks getting caught on the retreat. This is absolutely not what Strelok needs. All his siege tanks being caught out of siege mode. They did get a few good shots off, and those Vikings keep on demolishing the medevacs. Even though the Vikings haven't really been able to grant the vision and the slow pushing that Strelok probably had in mind when he produced them, they're still being useful. They've killed a lot of medevacs, and there goes another.
Not enough, though, I think, Lillian, because ForGG has done what he needed to do. He's actually reduced Strelok to 7 siege tanks right now, and he's not exactly going to push out across the map and destroy all the infrastructure with 7 siege tanks alone. He needs a much bigger mech army to do that, and because so many of the infrastructure buildings in his main base have gone down, this is the part where ForGG expands 3 times and goes, LOL, what can you do about it? But instead, he's going to move in towards the 4th base. These tanks are going down as well, and this definitely spells the end of the game.
Yeah, this is the death blow for the FXO player. Here comes ForGG stimming in, taking out the last few siege tanks, and Strelok's going to be forced to tap out in just a second. He only has 2 factories producing units right now. He has 3 in total, but just doesn't have the resources and the gas especially. GG gets called by the FXO player, and Strelok goes down in the first game to ForGG.